Hello and welcome to another episode of Another Zelda podcast. I'm here with another special guest, Dan McCoy.
Hello, everyone. It's nice to see you all again.
Yeah, Dan, thank you for coming back. Today, we're going to do... I'm kind of excited about this topic, this idea.
I'm very excited about this topic. So
It originally was conceived a little bit as like a favorites episode, but I think I want to do it almost more like a deep dive. I just want to kind of flow with the conversation here. What we decided, I mean, obviously our listeners have already read the title, but I think we've decided to... this kind of came from a point of view where you and I were talking about something we'd like to discuss, and you were like, well, what about other ways Zelda could exist? Like, what are things we want to see? And I was like, oh, like other mediums, you know?
Outside of video games, where would I like Zelda to show up?
Yeah, and certainly there's already in history, there's some comic books and some mangas and stuff like that. There's obviously the TV show, the animated TV show from back in the 80s.
Yep. And there's I think there's like a Monopoly. There's like kind of the tried and true here and there's.
You know, you're right. Yeah, there's like the Zelda chest. There's like the kind of the merchy kind of stuff.
Right. Exactly. There's merch for Zelda. Yeah. Like if I wanted to find a hoodie that looked like Link's tunic, you could Amazon that for like 2 seconds.
So I think what we'll talk about here is I've got a list. You have a list of things that we almost like dream mediums, dream expressions of
dreamiums.
We call them dreamiums, and of things we would love to see Zelda fit into or be expressed as.
Yes.
I think if it's an odd idea, let's pitch it to each other.
Oh, okay? I have some odd ideas. I'm very, very excited.
I have some ideas that I'm very much in love with and want to see, but they might be odd.
I had to dial it back because I was like, whoa, Dan, like this, let's calm it down a little bit.
Well, I've got a little listener feedback here that I want to get into first, and then I think we'll kind of get into this conversation.
Sure.
Let's see, over on YouTube for the top 10 emotional storylines episode. That was way back in season 2, episode 16. That might have been around that first episode you and I did, Dan, for what it's worth, where we talked about top 10 questions from a new Zelda fan.
I had so many. And if we ever want to do another one, now that I've been introduced to the lore and everything, I have so many more questions.
Interesting.
Because I have only played still a handful of things. So
I like this. Actually, you're giving me some ideas here. But anyway, Eric Cotton over on YouTube said, nice episode. Quick note for those who are interested, in Majora's Mask, there are aliens at the ranch. They are aliens at the ranch, not Poes. They are designed after the Flatwoods monster. And there's a link here that Eric provided. And I actually went to that link. Absolutely. The Flatwood monsters are like these kind of weird, like big-eyed creatures that come out of the water and hover around and stuff like that. Because I think Kate and I kept referring to them as Poes.
Sure. Now, Poes are the ghosts.
Poes are... So it's weird in Zelda. There are also ghosts and spirits, but Poes are ghosts, but they're almost like their own species of ghost.
Are they posers? See what I did there?
All right. I don't know if they specifically represent a dead corporal being. They might be their own spirit.
I think I remember reading that it was like a soldier or like something like that. Because I think one of my questions was who are Poes and,
I might have gotten into this then.
Why are there no Hylian Ghostbusters,
Well, because there needs to be. So anyways, at the time of Majora's Mask development, Eric continues, Japan was experiencing a huge spike in UFO sightings, so it was very relevant to the times in Japan. Also, I'd love if you guys ever did an episode talking about Majora's Mask being thematically built around the 5 stages of loss, where each main area is based on the stage of loss. Denial is Clocktown, anger is Woodfall, bargaining is Snowfall, depression is the Great Bay, and acceptance is Icona Canyon. I mean, as I read this, I could see those stages being attributed to those areas. That's interesting.
I think I've heard of that analogy before.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, it's not a secret that one of the main themes with Majora's Mask is loss and dealing with loss, all that kind of stuff. Let's see. I've got another one here. This is a... You know what? I think I read this one many, many episodes ago. I'm going to move on. I accidentally screen grabbed it from my phone and the computer.
Got it.
Let's see over here. This one's on our Discord chat, actually. And Mary Gigliotti said, "Hi, AZP. I'd like to say a huge thank you to David for reading my message about finding ways to cope with university exams." Oh, this is Marie. Okay. Yeah, I was actually really touched by this. This experience. Okay. I talked about this on another, I think I even mentioned it on my interview on Boss Rush Games. But anyway, so Marie here originally contacted us about how they listened to our show while walking around their village, getting ready for exams and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, Marie Gigliotti says here, "Hi AZP, I would like to have a huge thank you to David for reading my message about finding ways to cope with university exams anxiety in this episode. When David opened up about his own history with feeling anxious, saying that my message moved him, I felt grateful to be part of this great community. I even got a bit emotional. As of today, I can say I succeeded my studies, graduated, and started doing a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences in my faculty in September." I might not be reading that. I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. "I hope this follow-up message can inspire people to believe in themselves, even if it seems impossible to do now. Kindest regards from Marie, the PhD university student from Belgium. And thanks for the great content."
Marie, the PhD.
Yep, I
absolutely love it.
Oh, that's
great
wonderful.
Job. Good. Positivity all around.
Back in my 20s, I had a lot of issues with anxiety, and I have spoken about that in previous episodes a little bit. But now that I'm in my 40s, not a problem. I'm not so sure about that.
I'm proud of you.
But anyway, we'll do one more.
Where's your PhD?
What's that?
Where's your PhD?
Thanks, Dan. Thanks for the support. This one's kind of cute. A rating over on iTunes. Most expensive podcast ever. He continues. James K0203 says, "Warning, this podcast is highly addictive. I've never been much of a gamer as an adult, but this podcast has revitalized me with a vigor for games that..." Does this sound familiar?
No, I just understand.
Games that I haven't had for since I was a kid. I am kicking myself for getting rid of all my old systems. I've already repurchased a Wii, a Game Boy Advance, and a GameCube so I can live in Hyrule again. I should probably slow down and play one game at a time, but playing these games again has been the most fun I've had in a while. Can't get enough. So to justify all these purchases and the future ones, I'm personally holding Kate and David responsible. Sincerely, a broke Nintendo fan."
It's a slippery slope. It really, really is. There's always one more game somewhere.
I mean, yeah, it's true. I think I'll do one more and then we'll continue on. Okay. So this is a comment on YouTube all the way back on our first episode ever.
Oh wow. Season
1, episode 1. Kate and I just were warming up. We did our 3 favorite Zelda games.
Okay.
It was a very simple topic just to get us used to like talking with each other. And recently, however, Daniel Whalequist must have found the episode and said, "Twilight Princess is my all-time favorite video game." By the way, Dan, Kate and I at that time both had Twilight Princess as our favorite Zelda game.
Sure.
And we didn't plan it. We just both had it. It was interesting. Also, my first Zelda game. Oh, that's not as common. A lot of times people's first game is Ocarina, maybe even Wind Waker.
I'm an Ocarina kid.
Twilight Princess was first. I'm probably a little biased towards it, but my mom got it for me for Christmas when I was 6, and I had wanted to try it because she told me about her grandpa playing the game and watching as she saved the princess. Ever since I played Twilight Princess, I have been hooked on the game series. Super fun, Daniel. Thank you so much for the comment. Dan?
Yeah.
I'm not gonna prep this one.
Okay.
What's something you want to see Zelda be that's not a video game?
Okay. So I have a laundry list at this point, and I think most of them are some are let's be frank, some of them are a tad silly. But some of them I would honestly put money into if there was a Kickstarter that would do this. So I'm going to start out on a little bit serious one.
Yeah.
So as you all kind of know me through being on here, I am relatively nerdy, and I frequently.
What? No, you're like a cool guy.
Yeah. But I dabble here and there in Dungeons and Dragons. Okay.
Oh,
I've
definitely
played before. I've dungeon mastered before.
I'm actually pretty jealous.
It's a blast. You get your friends. It's a great time, and I would pay a fairly decent amount to have a Dungeons and Dragons campaign that was all revolved in the in Hyrule.
I might have a connection for you.
I mean, it just sounds, there's so much lore. There's so many different villages. There's dungeons. There's castles. I mean, especially with Breath of the Wild coming out and introducing not just like one or two types of weapons. Now we have old rusty swords. We have wands. We have like 12 different types of bows with different magical abilities. You have bobgoblins.
Oh, you're kind of saying like Breath of the Wild opened some of that up.
It really did, because before in some of the other games, it's like you have 5 weapons.
Yeah,
you
right.
know. But now Breath of the Wild, like you find a stick on the ground. Guess what? It's a weapon. It's weak, but you can hit somebody once.
Yeah.
I mean, you can be
they do have like stats to them now.
Oh yeah,
stuff like that,
you can
right?
be different classes. You can be different races. You know, there's towns where you can buy stuff. From Zora's Domain to the castle to Kikoro Village. Like,
Did you just say Kikoro?
Kikoro? No.
Well, I've always said Kakariko, but I could be wrong, honestly.
Well,
I love it. Kikoro. Zelda fan? I'm glad you're a Zelda fan.
I am.
Zelda fan to Zelda fan. Let's say it however we want.
Okay. Well, that's fair. But like, I just think it has its own currency. It's just prime. It's everything you need to do whatever you want to do. You can be a Goron if you want to. Sorry. You can be a Goron if you want to.
Gorgons. Oh, we are in trouble.
Oh gosh. It's because we were talking about Community earlier.
Yeah, I was doing that.
Yeah.
I was doing the Doctor Space Time one. Anyway.
So it just you can be anything. And the one rule I'd have though is no one can be Link.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay,
Yeah,
so
you can't be Link or Zelda because I think they need to be NPCs because you are in the world. You are not Link. You're a band. Maybe he's in trouble. Something. You don't get to be any of the main characters. You have to create your own, and then the world just is. It's open for you.
Because there's a couple ways you can go with that. You can either do the thing like the Four Swords thing where everyone is a Link.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they have their own stats. Or no one's a Link. Or the Link or Link.
Yeah.
And so then can they be a Goron or a Zora or a Sheikah or a character that's even better known like Impa or something like that? Is that in your version that you're kind of having in your head right now? Is that how this works?
I think how I would do it if I got to create it is you can't be anyone that's already named. If they have,
wow! So you're going full character creation.
But I would say, and you know how they say like Link at times is like 007, as in like he's not the same person, but there can be different. Like the Link from Ocarina of Time is not necessarily the Link from like Twilight Princess. You know what I mean?
Right. You're right. The playable Link in Twilight Princess is not the same Link.
So it can Link. It can be a title that you can achieve at a certain point. So I don't see why there can't be a Link that's a Goron or someone from Zora's Domain or something like that, you know? Why does it always have to be a human who gets it?
My, oh my.
And this can all be fleshed out. And the second we started talking about this, I was like, oh, D&D. Oh, D&D would just go crazy with this.
I love it. I don't have it in front of me right now, so I can't reference it, but we had a listener feedback that dealt with someone who was playing a Zelda-themed D&D campaign. Almost 2 years ago, we got this feedback, and I actually reached out to them. I said, that's super cool. Can I chat with your DM?
Yeah.
And that DM actually did reply to me, and I've kind of it's kind of fell into the fray a little bit.
Sure.
This is inspiring me to reach back out, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. That's pretty good. And so one more technical question. I'm gonna push up my glasses here for a second.
Throw it at me.
If any species can be a Link, or in other words, the hero of courage,
Sure.
Can there be more than one? Because what if you have your 5 people playing?
And that's I don't have all of the answers.
Yeah, I don't want to nitpick. I'm just having fun with it.
But I would say that seeming there is only one Triforce of courage. There can only be one, because at no point can we. The Triforce has already been split into 3. You can't then split another one, and maybe that's something that your party, depending on how many people are in there, have to decide upon, or the best stats. So not only are you and your group trying to compete to achieve this said quest, but you're also somewhat competing with your own group, that whenever you do compete the quest, whoever has, be it stats or best decision or dungeon master's choice gets that.
Wow. Then you even got me thinking maybe there's a version where all 3 of the Triforces can still be assigned in the character creation, and the person dealing with power, maybe there's a balancing mechanic of there is the great power, but it can corrupt a little bit too.
Yeah.
Like how Ganon gets corrupted.
You can even have it where you can have just a top or a max of 3 people in the party.
Yeah.
And each one of you has to decide which one of you gets the I'm the power, you're the courage, you're the wisdom, and then that affects your stats and as you go on,
And even with all that said, like even kind of queuing off of Age of Calamity or something like that, it's also conceivable that you could have a team of even, let's just say 6 and 3 are like normies.
Yeah.
And 3 are Triforce people. And maybe the 3 are still just really good. Like the champions aren't connected to the Triforce, you know what I mean? But they're still great warriors, that kind of thing. I think that could work. Now, also, last but not least, a technical question, and I don't know much about this. Do you feel that this is a completely ground up built engine, so to speak, or is it like a mod on like the 5th edition of Dungeons and Dragons? How is this expressed?
I would want this to be its own groundwork.
Yeah.
I mean, you can definitely use a template.
Yeah.
Like how D&D works, but I mean, because if whoever's played D&D, like once you start the game, it's almost 20-30 minutes of paperwork. Like
right in the beginning.
Yeah, you start and then you have to like start rolling your dice to see how you're speccing. You have to choose. There's a manual of like, okay, if you're going to be a druid or like a animal tamer or something. And I'm not using the most correct words, but I would want this to be as in-depth as possible because I think the lore is so expansive that it's there. You can really flesh this whole thing out and put me in the world as a Goron, and I just think that would be the coolest thing in the world.
I think there's opportunity there for sure. And obviously a few other people have kind of explored this idea too, based on just our listener feedback. I'm not sure exactly how it was expressed for that team that's playing, that group that's playing. But I would... I've been holding back. I've been wanting to be in a D&D campaign probably for 2 decades. And I've kind of just always not done it because I think I was always a little scared I'd like it too much. And there's a lot... Like I wasn't sure if I really had the time for it type of thing. You know what I mean?
You have to find a group that like...
Because there's a social commitment.
Yeah. You got to find people that can do it once a week or something of that degree.
Yeah.
This set time, and everyone can make their schedule work around that,
Yeah. Honestly, to just get really close to the chest here, like I would always get worried like, well, what if I had a podcast deadline for this or that and all of a sudden I couldn't go and whatever. But I'm going to kind of stay in that game thing here. We don't have to just go back and forth. But one of the things, and I think we both vaguely spoke about this when we were taking some notes the other day at the coffee shop, like a Zelda escape room.
Okay.
I was thinking about. Now I think there's plenty of escape rooms out there, and I know that they were bonkers popular 8 years ago. I did plenty of them myself. They're still pretty popular.
In St. Louis, at least, I know there's like 3 or 4.
Yeah. Okay. The thing is with escape rooms, when they're franchised, the literal rooms can't be too big. You know what I mean? There's at best maybe there's like 3 rooms that you move to. I did like a minecart one once where you start in a chapel and then you move on to a dig site and then you finally go into like a minecart area. And that was probably like the quote unquote big room for this company.
Okay.
I do know that there's also sometimes there's some where you're just like in a parlor.
Yeah.
You're just in that living room or parlor and there it is.
I've done a 3-room one and I've done a 1-room one.
Okay. So the thing is, I know that like structurally, so this really kind of brings up a conversation about Zelda Dungeons in general. The thing that's nice about Zelda Dungeons, that's fun about Zelda Dungeons, is that each room might have their own little micro puzzle. And by puzzle, sometimes it's just find the thing to shoot your arrow at.
Oh, that'd be funny. You get a little bit of like pew.
Pew. But Zelda Dungeons at their best is when there's macro puzzles happening all over the place, and changing a room here has context to other rooms changing for reasons that make logical sense and all of that. So I was thinking about it and I was like, man, I don't know if I wanted to play a Zelda. You could do like a teeny tiny little escape room that kind of like has Zelda stuff. Like, oh, cool, look, it's the Lens of Truth.
Yeah.
But I feel like that'd almost be fan servicey. I feel like if you did a real Zelda escape room, personally, I'd want it to be like the size of a gymnasium.
Yeah. I mean, if I got my wish of it all, it would be like 3-4 hours or something like that, like
yeah, I mean, yeah,
that'd be fun.
But what I'm realizing here is that maybe the puzzles they would be the same, but they would be just spread out more. So are you just diluting the experience?
I guess my question to you in this would be like, how much pre-existing Zelda knowledge should the person know going in? Because you have to remember, an average person needs to go in this and all the information needs to be right there.
So I don't know. I'm starting to redact this as a good idea because I think you're right. I think if you have to boil it down so that anyone can do it.
Yeah.
But isn't that every new Zelda game? Because they do need to make it appropriate for a new audience. But nevertheless, but when you go into a dungeon 15 hours into a game, you've been learning the mechanics for 15 hours and the mechanics on top of the mechanics. Okay, fine. So honestly, I don't know if this works. I think it's mostly going to be a fan servicey kind of escape room thing.
It would be great if they made one and be like warning for Zelda fans. Do you know what I mean? Like,
that's good.
If you don't know,
There's a lot of Zelda fans out there, but that's really narrowing the market.
You could do like, I think there's some like sports-based ones.
Oh, really?
Like I think there's like a St. Louis Cardinal escape room down in St. Louis.
Okay.
And I would never do that because they'd be like, in this year, this person pitched a no-hitter. I'd be like, I'm just going to sit here until the timer runs out. Like I just wouldn't know any of that stuff.
Yeah.
So if that can exist, our nerd life can kind of have one too. I
suppose the concept of like genuinely moving through a large space would be kind of fun. But anyway, that one's just a little note here. But I don't know. I'm wondering if. Oh, well, okay, let's stay in some of the game stuff here.
Okay.
I would be very comfortable, but this is probably a David Geisler thing, having like a Hyrule or a even, okay, fine, all the different cultures, but let's say a Hyrule maker game.
I have SimCity Hyrule.
Well, there we go.
Here.
You've got it too?
Yeah, because I was like, oh, that'd be great.
I'd be happy to play top down, quote unquote God game.
Yep, without
Hyrule.
A doubt. Now, do you start with Hyrule Castle and work out,
or do you try to build to it,
or do you start at like where do you start? What is that first thing that like here's your free go? Where do you start?
Do you know what? I think it's not high. Okay, if you started with Hyrule Castle, I think the game would lean closer naturally by accident during development. Would lean closer to like what ends up becoming like these real time strategy games where you're building up your resources and your armies, and maybe you're attacking, maybe you're not attacking other areas. But I think it might actually turn into that. I want greenfield, start with a tiny town and build it up type of game.
Now, are you going to introduce like so? As you grow, like you buy your land, you get a little bigger. Do you get to decide where you start? Like, can I start out in the Gerudo area? Can I start out in Zora's domain? Can I start?
Yeah, I love this. I think one thing that could be cool is you could quickly probably have 5 different. I don't know if you call them cultures, but like societies. No. Yeah, areas. Yeah. I guess it's areas. So like maybe the Zora plumbing works different than the Goron plumbing, which works different than the Gerudo electricity compared to the Zora electricity. Maybe the Zoras don't even have electricity because they have luminous stones or something. So one thing that
minerals in each one that you have to mine
one thing
out.
that could be interesting is that you could choose any of them. And I guess maybe Hyrule would be the real world analogy, which it kind of is anyway.
Okay.
Like that's where normal physics would do normal things.
Yep.
Because even in the Sim Cities and even in City Skylines, sometimes it's like you just unlocked the magical solar panel earth water energy charger.
Yep.
It's like it gives you 3 times the output of a turbine, and you're like, I'm not sure if that thing actually exists in real life, but you like go with it for the mechanics of the game. I think you could maybe pick anywhere, maybe easiest level. So I've been playing a lot of Jurassic World Evolution.
Got it.
And there's certain islands that are more difficult than others, and kind of the first island is a fairly flat, fairly you can work with it.
Yeah.
Obviously, by the time you get to a third island, you're kind of dealing with like rock cliffs and the weather's worse and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe the Gerudo, the Zora,
now do you have
the Rito.
Oh, sorry to interrupt, but
No.
do you have to stay as one, or by the end game?
Like, do you have it all?
You're in charge of Hyrule?
Well, what I think would be fun is wherever you start, that's where you start. And I won't try to dissect like which areas might be easy, hard, but what would happen is, let's say you start in just normal Hyrule.
Okay.
Well, I guess Hyrule's kind of the whole thing, but I guess Castle Town? No, let's do it this way for the sake of the conversation. Let's say you start in the Zora domain.
Got it.
And you might eventually start having some Gorons and Rito and Hylians
So, like,
visit.
bigger you
and maybe
get-
they start setting up a shop and you start getting import economy. But
you have to reach like a certain size.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, okay.
No, okay. So if maybe they're imports, but then eventually, maybe when you grow out big enough to then touch the Gorons, geographically speaking or politically speaking, maybe there is a time. I don't know. I don't know.
Does
where
this turn into
how this
like
works.
civilization?
I
a
know,
little
right?
bit,
Does it
where
become
it's like,
civilization?
do we have to start an alliance?
Because what I
Or
want,
like
what David Geisler wants,
Yeah.
is just build it
Yeah.
game. You know what I mean?
I just really recently started playing The Simpsons Tapped Out. And what you do is you start with the very basic The Simpsons house. And then as you do little quests here and there, you log in once or twice a day, you get a little bit more money, then you get, Bart's treehouse, and then Bart shows up, And I just think how cool that would be in just in Hyrule. So you just start out with, Link's tree that he starts out in Ocarina of Time.
I guess you could have Kokiri Village in there too,
and so
forest
you
or
get
whatever.
boom, and like maybe one other person walking around, and so you go, and then you get a little bit more money, and then eventually you can buy the Deku tree after a while, and then he gives his resources, and then you can spread out, and then you go to the field, and that's a whole thing. And then as you just keep growing,
Okay, so maybe what it is it's not so much that you have the different cultures and societies. Maybe they just represent just different forms of business. Oh boy, I don't know. Maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree
I don't know,
here.
but Sid Meier's Civilization for Hyrule would be.
And you know what's interesting?
Really fun.
The Civilization games have never called me. I've never really played one because I don't know. I think I just really love the building block games.
Yeah.
When then they grow on you, like the Ant Farm games. You know what I mean? All right, I got to think about this one a little bit more. That was just I just want to throw it out there. I don't know. You have anything that can piggyback off that idea on your list over there?
Not really. I think
Let's switch it up.
The next thing I have, and I know we had mentioned that there are comic books and all that stuff, but I think it'd be really fun to do a choose your own adventure kind of book series.
Sure.
Yeah. Because I don't want to have a book series where Link does things that are out of our control, because I think, especially for it being a video game, we want to still be able to control a certain character, if that makes any sense. Because all of a sudden, if we're playing and Link does something that we wouldn't want Link to do, that feels a little odd for us because we are technically Link. So I think it'd be kind of interesting to do a choose your own style where we're at least given a decision so we still feel like we are controlling the character, but it's also following a certain path to get to the end plot storyline.
I'm totally into it. I think, that is the trick with Link, is that's why a Link or a Zelda movie would be so difficult because we're now starting to watch this character make their own choices, not choices we're making.
Yeah.
So I mean, and what's the depth of that choose your own adventure? Because the funny thing about choose your own adventures, which I always loved as a kid and also was sometimes frustrating, is sometimes it's literally the question is do you want to go left or right? And it's oh, you went right. You found the huge beast and it bit your head off.
Yeah.
And you're like, what? Whoa, well, I had no idea that was going to be the thing that would happen that way.
So growing up, my mom, just something she did, she's like, every time you read a book, I'll give you $1. Just something to promote us to read. So I literally would go to the library and get a choose your own adventure.
And you'd go through a few times?
And I would just read it to the point where I was kind of bored with the book. And then I would clearly choose the kill yourself. And then I'd be like, Mom, I'm done. And she's like, then what's the plot? And I would tell her everything that I did. And she'd be like,
okay,
you read it. I'm like, okay, thanks for the $1, Mom.
Oh my gosh.
But
yeah, no, that'd be tons of fun. I love that. So let me get a little... So many episodes ago, maybe 4 episodes ago, I talked about the guy who built the roller coaster in Planet Coaster.
Yeah.
However,
which isn't about actual table coasters, right?
No, right? Yeah, copy.
Got it.
Not about that. About roller coasters.
Roller coasters.
It's about taking table coasters and rolling them down the hill. No, this isn't working great. Well, anyway, but way before that, I had an idea of it would be really fun to see a Zelda coaster, and what would that be? A Zelda roller coaster, and a roller coaster that would actually fit into a theme. Because a lot of the best theme parks right now, and for maybe the past 7 or 8 years, are doing really highly themed experiences, and not just highly themed for just that ride, but they're trying to make the ride make contextual sense inside whatever area they're building, all the way from Toy Story Land being you're kind of miniaturized, so everything's at a certain scale that makes sense, to the hyper theming that's happening on Galaxy's Edge, and even Universal Studios doing it with Jurassic Park and stuff like that. And obviously the Harry Potter stuff.
I was going to say Harry Potter world just jumped straight to mind. Yeah,
absolutely. Whereas even 20 years ago, it was more well, here's the Spider-Man ride.
Yeah.
But now the Spider-Man ride in Disneyland is on the Avengers campus, and they, you see where I'm going with this. So what's as cool and as impressed as I was with that guy making a quote unquote Zelda coaster in Planet Coaster. Yeah. Mostly I was impressed with his skill of building.
Oh yeah. I remember that one.
Zelda things. But if you're actually going to do a coaster that's not just themed to Zelda,
Okay.
like because his coaster was blue and silver, and it totally fit for what he was doing, and it was an amazing build, and an amazing job. But how could a Zelda coaster fit contextually into one of the Zelda games or the Zelda universe? Is what I've been thinking. And so, like, if Super Nintendo World had to build the Goron Mountain or something, could they put a coaster in there? And obviously, they could probably do like a mine cart coaster.
You keep saying roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be cool. But my brain, when I think of an amusement park, I would want to do like a water thing.
Don't you even dare. That's something for after the break.
But it's still how I think at Six Flags in St. Louis, what's it called? You're in a giant inner tube and it's rapids the entire time.
All right, let's just go there.
Okay.
I was going to say this for after the break, but look, the largest selection on my list here
Okay.
is a Zelda-themed water park. Literally, like, I broke down what kind of slides would be for what and what they would work for what. So,
Well, you cued me in. Okay.
I guess I did.
You laid the breadcrumbs. I
real
just ate them all. And
let me
walked
talk
there.
about like possible themed roller coaster experiences. It could be like the kind of more like Goron Mines, you're in a mine cart, but that's like kind of been done.
Okay.
They're even talking about doing a version of that for the Donkey Kong area. Not even
Well, I was
talking,
saying-
like, there's plans for it.
Because Nintendo has its own theme park now in Japan.
Yep, and soon to be 2 more in America.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I had no idea.
Yeah.
But I know it's predominantly Mario.
So in Japan, it's called Super Nintendo World.
Okay.
But the area right now that's there is this like Mushroom Kingdom themed area. There's absolutely an extra area, and it's in the blueprints and the plans. There's a phase 2 for like a Donkey Kong Country area.
Okay.
That will get built in Japan. So the Super Nintendo World that'll go in California and Orlando, the Mushroom Kingdom part is going to be almost exact carbon copy of what's in Japan right now.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that in Orlando, also with the same option to expand to the Donkey Kong Country.
Okay.
So they're kind of buying a footprint and building half of it, and they're going to build it out.
Is it going to be its own theme park, or is this going to be like how Universal Studios all of a sudden became, here's Marvel Island, here's
It's like Marvel Island.
Okay.
So in Japan, it's just Universal Studios Japan, and Super Mario World is kind of like an area. You go through a tunnel, and then you're in the Super Mario area.
Well, I guess that makes sense because Universal Studios needs to get rid of Marvel pretty soon, right? Because Disney purchased it.
That is a conversation that I am obsessed with, and I love.
They can't keep that for forever.
They actually can keep it. So Disney has the rights to use Marvel characters anywhere west of the Mississippi River.
Really?
Anything east of the Mississippi River, Universal still owns those Marvel characters as long as they are not the MCU representation.
I was going to say, I think that was the loophole that I was expecting is like, as long as you're not saying, here's Robert Downey Jr.'s
as
Iron Man,
right,
but you can have a guy walking around, I'm Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like, you just can't have...
And it has to look like the comic book Iron Man, even though the comic book Iron Man is starting to look like him. But anyway.
You can have all of the comic book characters, you just can't have the MCU characters.
This is also why there's a Guardians of the Galaxy coaster going in at Epcot. I remember when that got announced a year or two ago, I was thinking to myself, like, I enjoyed the Guardians of the Galaxy films, but boy, oh boy, what a weird one to pick first.
Well, I mean...
like no Iron Man. But the reason is Guardians of the Galaxy is the only Marvel family that's not represented at Universal Studios. So Disney can't use any Marvel at all in Orlando.
Yeah.
This is going away from a Zelda podcast, but I guess I'll just try to wrap up this thought.
Okay.
Disney is so when Universal got the contract to do their Marvel Land, there was this really weird contract, and it wasn't even that good. It was not in Marvel's favor. And then Disney inherited this contract when they bought them so many years ago. But the contract was like, Universal has exclusive rights to a family of characters so long as a character from that family is represented in a ride. So Universal Studios, this is a real quick version of this, very smartly was made like the Storm ride. So then they had X-Men. They did one character, Dr. Doom. So then they had the Fantastic Four.
They did the Hulk.
And even Spider-Man. So
Spider-Man,
Hulk technically counts as Avengers, and Spider-Man is all of Spider-Man universe. So Disney in Orlando can't use any Avengers, can't use any Spider-Man, can't use any Fantastic Four or any X-Men, even though X-Men is still a little wonky, with their rights.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, when Disney was like, geez, Louise, we got to put something Marvel
without
over
a
at
doubt.
Orlando. Because at least we can do the real Avengers or our Avengers in California.
Yeah.
We got to do something. The only thing that there's obviously some other franchises that are part of Marvel, but like Guardians of the Galaxy didn't get used at Universal.
Yeah.
So Disney was like,
because that was before that
yes,
franchise
we're
even
going
wrote
with
them out.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
And see, I remember we were there a while ago, and I saw it being built. I mean, it just steel beams in the ground, nothing really ready. And it's like, coming soon, Guardians of the Galaxy. I was like, I think it's Epcot, which tries to be educational and cultural. I was like,
well,
so
they're kind of
space, and I was like,
yeah,
I think
it's
that's
adjacent. It's adjacent.
And I was like, I guess that makes sense because Epcot and the future, and this is kind of, that's how my brain connected.
I agree completely. Epcot's going through a rebranding right now. Anyway, they're bringing IPs in all over the place for it. But we need to talk about Zelda. Okay. So maybe another Zelda roller coaster could be like it could be one of these hanging coasters, a little bit like the pterodactyl ride in Universal Studios, where you're hanging from below the track and it's your glider ride or something like that. There could be a bike one. There is an actual kind of roller coaster in the desert in Skyward Sword.
There's a roller coaster in Skyward Sword?
There's like a mine cart / roller coaster thing where you got to kind of stay balanced and ride it around in Skyward Sword. But I don't think that is as marketable.
Sure.
Like it's not like, you know what I mean? It's not the Hyrule, a glider experience around a Hyrule castle is so much more marketable.
See, again, my brain wants to go, and I know we already talked about your water park to a small amount. And if you want to go further,
we're going there next.
You have quite a lot written down about your water park.
I got like 6 or 7 bullets here. Yeah.
Because I would like going back to the inner tube where you're like with 5 or 6 people, just an indoor water park ride where you could start, because I mean, there's rivers all through Hyrule, and you could easily kind of like make it kind of go around, and like you go through this, a tunnel or something, and you just hit yellow lights and orange lights on the side, and so all of a sudden you make the water look like lava, and then you got Gorons up here, and you're getting wet, and you know how they can slow the tides down to a little bit, and you could have a little bit of a story, and then all of a sudden you hit this, and you go through that, and then all of a sudden another town, and all of a sudden, boo, you're in another world in Zora's domain, and everything's crystalline, right? And the water's beautiful,
and this is all in one ride.
Yeah.
Well, what if I love this?
Yeah.
I'm gonna yes and that. Okay. And say, what if we do that? But each ride is like that, like it's like a whole water park. Yeah. So there is the Zora, like the Zora River is the lazy river or something like that. It could be Zora themed.
Yeah,
it could have all the crystalline stuff and stuff like that. There could be, I was thinking the fishing hole could be like a kids play area where it's still rubber rafts and bunkers and boats that the kids can jump around on and hang from ropes and stuff like that and do that kind of thing. Okay. Or maybe the fishing hole is an actual touch the fish area, even though I know those are kind of getting a little controversial. I have a hot springs Gorons idea. So maybe there's like a slightly adult hot tub type of situation. Adult meaning like you're not going to throw your 3-year-old kid in there. Yeah. And you could have that be like orange and lava-y. And so you have a mini Hyrule kind of thing where you're kind of moving to these different areas.
But especially with Breath of the Wild and the glide being so prominent, I think it would make a lot of sense to do a hanging and then you hang glide and drop
into Lake Hylia.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you jump, you hang.
Why it's really have not we been hired? Like we're just all of these ideas are going to make us millions.
Yep, I get it. And then even the Rapids River, the Rapids ride from A Link's Awakening, or there's even kind of one in Twilight Princess. That's obviously an adventure river experience, and you're kind of going through.
Oh, and at the very end of my Rapids, yes, where you do all this stuff, where it ends up, a giant egg. And a whale pops out, and it's all a dream.
Yep. And then
done. You're welcome.
And you turn into a bird and fly away. It totally works out.
Please. Thank you.
So I kind of think it could be fun where I don't think you enter Hyrule Castle in this experience, but I think there's like an abstraction.
You go around it.
Yeah. Maybe there's Hyrule Castle could be actually maybe more like the kids' play place. Mm-hmm. Maybe that's where you got the little water guns and you're squirting in the buckets of water and the tiny slides and stuff like
and
that.
It's all PVC pipe and da-da-da-da.
Yeah, I just realized maybe the fishing hole is bumper boats or something like that. But I think the main feature is kind of Zora's domain. Mm-hmm. Like maybe it's the river ride that brings you to, maybe that's where the restaurant is or something. I don't know. We're kind of going out there.
Exit through the gift shop.
And what else did I have? The fishing hole. Oh, Lake Hylia is in my opinion. So at first I was like, oh, Lake Hylia is the wave pool, obviously, but I don't know if like Lake Hylia usually has a lot of waves. Lake Hylia is almost more like tranquil or half drained, or something like that. So maybe the wave pool has to be. I don't know where it would be.
And see if you're doing. The one thing I would
I'm just trying to find water park analogies.
Just to make it
analogs.
a little bit more interesting instead of just like a giant open area where people are just sitting. If it's Lake Hylia, which is out in the open, I want to see a night and day.
Whoa.
You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have to be like every 10 minutes, but just that continue. And so at nighttime, like you can try and make it a little spookier because, you don't want to be out at the dark because, skeletons pop up.
Okay.
And then when it's daytime, it's fine, And it's probably you could just use mood lighting and something like that to really do it. Because
I'm on board for this.
Now, is this all indoors or outdoors?
Well, I've been visualizing it as an outdoors theme park, a water park, but I could see this working as indoor too, because then you could do some of that lighting control stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I would love to go to a Zelda themed water park. I think that'd be tons of fun.
The one I would base it off of is, and it's not even there anymore, but if you've ever been to the St. Louis Six Flags, it's a theme park it's a ride that haunted me as a kid. I think it was called Castaway Kids.
Okay.
And it's like you basically just sit in a little log and it goes through room to room to room and it doesn't really ever speed up or slow down. You're just looking at these events.
Okay.
On the
kind of
side.
bouncing and blobbing along in the.
And I think you're on a track. You're not even
in water
bouncing. It's just
okay.
But of course I want to get rid of the track because I think you could control the water and bounce into the walls. But I just remember being so spooked by certain areas of it because it's like claustrophobic because you're in a tunnel. Like, and I want to get that feeling again,
I mean, so maybe there's is it under Hyrule Castle? No, maybe there is one spooky element. Maybe because we haven't done any scary stuff yet.
Yeah. Oh, we could just take over Disney, knock out It's a Small World, and instead of all the countries, just have all the different,
Good. Yep.
Just a bunch of little Gorons like singing and little like puppetry just moving back and forth.
Yep. Right. One's like perpetually rolling in place.
Perpetually rolling. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Perfect. I think we got this. Well, I think we should take a break there. Because this has actually been a really long first half, but I've been loving it.
Okay.
Let's go to break and we'll come back and we'll talk about even more things. All right.
Love it. Love it. Love it.
Cool.
Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Mike.
And we are brothers-in-law. We both love beer and are amateur home brewers.
Wait, so does that make us brothers-in-law?
I believe so.
Every episode, we will talk about aspects of beer and home brewing.
But nothing super technical because we're learning this too.
So join us as we sit down together and dive into something beer-related.
Whether it's a little field research, tasting a certain beer style, or beers from a specific brewery,
talk about our experiences brewing beer at home, including our own solo brews, as well as themed competitions we'll set up along the way.
We will also talk about some of our favorite aspects of brewing, like hops, extra ingredients, building our brew cave, and more. And of course, our own misadventures that have happened along the way.
So, if you like beer, are home brewing already,
or if you have an interest in home brewing and don't know where to start,
join us on Brothers-in-Law Podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, YouTube, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
And make sure to follow us on Twitter at Brothers-in-Law and check out our website, brothersinlaw.com.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Jake, have you ever been looking for a definitive Nintendo ranking and can't seem to find it because it's just everybody's own opinion?
Honestly, all the time, Sam.
Well, I'm looking for someone to give us the answers.
Wait, you mean like a podcast made by two young, handsome men where they create a definitive top 5 list of all things Nintendo?
Should we just do it ourselves?
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Let's give it a shot. I'm Sam.
And I'm Jake.
And at Top 5 Nintendo, I'm going to give you my top 5 list.
And I'm going to give you my top 5 list.
And then we're going to duke it out and see what the real top 5 is.
Okay, we are back.
Oh,
I know
hey.
I totally surprised Dan right now. I brought us in just he was like mid-sentence.
Completely shocked.
But I think we're on a roll. I've got a few more that I want to talk about, but I think I want to save them because I actually ended up digging into some of my heavy hitters in the first act.
So I'm gonna bring out one of my heavy hitters.
Okay.
And I don't know if I want this to be slightly comical or if I want this to be very serious.
Okay.
So I've talked to you, David, quite a few times, and I know the Zelda world, the lore, and this, like from the beginning of time.
Yeah.
Like, I want a Civil War style documentary narrated by Morgan Freeman about the beginning of the world.
Of Hyrule.
Of Hyrule,
yeah. All right.
I just be like, and I don't even want to do it like
we've got this goddesses coming down and
it has to be narrated by Morgan Freeman.
Okay.
In like black and white, and it's just I think it would be so
take it
amazing.
really serious.
Yeah. It'd be great.
There's a lot of history there.
And then as the three goddesses, like, and that's the best Morgan Freeman impression I have. But like, just because like people like me who I don't necessarily want to have to play a 20-hour game or however long Skyward Sword is. And I know there's tons of YouTubes who spell it all. Or
yeah, there's some of these like history of Hyrule.
Yeah, but I want a professionally done, like money behind it, Morgan Freeman narrated history of Hyrule. He's like, and then as we get to the second split in the timeline, because there's
that's right, the timeline.
Yeah, because it cuts into what 3 at some point.
There's like 3, and then they kind of all come back
if
with
Link
Breath of the Wild.
if Link fails, and if he lives, and if he lives, does he go back as a kid?
Absolutely.
And it can get a little confusing. So I just want a high-end, professionally made, Morgan Freeman narrated,
and there's even some weird
Civil
things,
War style documentary.
There's some weird things in the timeline where like the first 3 minutes of a game will set up a certain amount of history. And sometimes it'll be like a single sentence about like, and then there was the Hyrulean Civil War. And then they just continue moving on. And after that turmoil, and you're kind of like, oh my gosh, if you're putting that in the timeline, this is a massive event that's not even in any of the games.
Yeah. But don't you just also want to hear Morgan Freeman say words like Deku tree or something like that, or like karaoke or like,
okay. You had me at Deku tree.
Like, I think it'd be great. Or any other professional narrator. Like I'm hip to Morgan Freeman.
Oh my gosh.
Because part 2 of this, and we can go into depth, is I want a Planet Earth narrated by David Attenborough of the world.
Mm-hmm. Watch it as the Deku scrub stands downwind.
I would buy that right now.
Magical moment.
Oh, I would love it. And as the Goron tumbles and tumbles and tumbles and tumbles, like,
all right.
Like, I want Pixar style graphics on
I feel
this.
like maybe a parody thing has to be made here.
The second I was writing it, I was smiling, going, "This is what I want and need in my life right now." Mm-hmm. And you could do it separate. You'd be like just the wooded characters, and then like the deep ocean.
Oh my gosh, you got to find the craziest little. Oh, I wonder if you could do something with the Picori for the water park and have that be for the little kids or something. But anyway,
you got all Zora's Domain. You got.
I don't mean to go back. Yeah, I'm into this.
Yeah, right. Isn't that like those would sell?
It would have to be. Obviously, it's done. It's a little tongue in cheek, but the data has to be like spot on 100%.
But all of these, I want sanctioned.
I mean?
Yeah, I want all of this sanctioned by Nintendo.
Oh God,
do you know what I mean?
They're not going to pay for Morgan Freeman.
Nintendo's got the money. They can pay for Morgan Freeman, and we got to do it now. David Attenborough's getting old.
He's getting old,
and so is Morgan Freeman. But like, let's do it now, and so that way, like, all of the information's canon.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. All right, Dan, you lead the way.
All right,
my goodness.
So those are my big ones. The D&D style game that we mentioned earlier.
Oh, right.
And the Civil War and Planet Earth documentaries about this world.
Documentaries. So the Morgan Freeman one is almost it's like the photo zooming in and out,
like
kind
a Ken
of
Burns,
historical,
like Ken Burns documentary.
thing. But then the Attenborough is kind of like the in the moment. Look at, we're doing nature footage.
Yep.
Yeah.
If you've seen the episode of Community with Pillow Fort and Blanket Town,
yes,
I want it exactly like that.
We're doing a lot of Community references tonight, but that's fine. Yeah, I get it.
The more the merrier.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let me see. I don't have too much left, but I had one thing that I thought would be fun, which I really should have probably brought up in the first half when we were talking about games, is I would enjoy like a randomly generated dungeon crawler board game. That'd be fun. You're laying down your tiles or your little room tiles as they go.
Okay.
There'd have to be a little bit of planning to make sure that your puzzles are logically doable.
In what game parallel?
So like a dungeon crawler board game where a lot of times you have your party, almost like maybe a bit like Descent or something like that.
Okay.
Where you have your party and your characters and literally a tile gets laid down that might have 9 to 12 squares on it of space that you can walk around, and you get to the next hallway or the next door and another tile piece gets grabbed, and maybe it's a hallway, maybe it's a bigger room or a smaller room or just a turn. Sometimes these things can be pre-mapped out to create your own board every time you play, or you can do it where you pull a random tile down and it's
Got it.
It's
Okay.
a bit, remember when we were playing Rogue Heroes, how it kind of randomly generates the rooms, but they're kind of sometimes the same set of rooms.
Yeah.
But the order you get them is different or something.
So is this a video game or a board game?
Oh, board game.
Okay, board game. Okay, that's what I was thinking you were saying.
Yeah. No, I don't think I need like a top down. I mean, really, I was just about to say, I don't think I need a top down dungeon crawler with 4 characters, but like that is 4 swords.
Yeah.
So we've already got that one.
Yeah,
That'd be fun.
I'd spend some Kickstarter
A
money on
little bit of Hero Quest vibes.
Sure,
you know?
sure. Yeah. So, and I was looking online, and for my next one, I found out that somebody has completely and digitally remade the entire Titanic, and you can put on like VR glasses and
cool.
like with a little controller, walk around and explore and see entirely what the Titanic was like.
Okay.
Well, I want that for major like the Hyrule Castle. I want that for the village. Like, I know it would take a ton of like server space to do that, but just like a kind of a
I love
VR
this.
interactive guide, maybe narrated by Morgan Freeman. Not to ham on this too much.
There's a hack in Breath of the Wild where if you do a certain quick move real quick, you can kind of you can exploit the first person zoomy thing
Okay.
and essentially remap first person and you can play Breath of the Wild in first person.
What?
It's absolutely a hack. Only pros. I've even tried doing it. It's really tough. The pros say it's not, but for me, it's tough.
Well, the pros. That's why they're the pros.
But like, it gets me thinking. Like, geez, Louise, couldn't we? The other night, I had you play around with the 3D Labo, Breath of the Wild thing. It's a little rough. I mean, I don't think I could play it for hours like that, but it's fun for a couple minutes.
Yeah.
The resolution's really low and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but it was fun.
I was like, hey, this is neat. And then I handed it right back to you because that was the fill of that I needed.
Yeah, it was like 2 minutes, and that was probably about it. But maybe, what I'm trying to say is some of this data set's there already. Like, I mean, all of Hyrule in Breath of the Wild. Now, maybe it's not just first person. So you're saying like high detail, like photorealistic.
And I'm not asking to walk around the entire kingdom. I understand that, like,
what if it's like the castle reconstructed?
yeah, so maybe just the castle is its own thing, and then you can take out a chip or whatever and put in. Now I want to do Zora's Domain. Like, you know how whenever a new piece of like VR tech comes out, they always have demos of like, look how good we can make this look.
Yeah.
I think it would be crazy. It's like, hey, look, we completely made Hyrule Castle.
Yeah,
And be like,
that'd be fun.
I'd
I'd love it.
and then
I've done a few Oculus Rift demos where you like walk around like some kind of, they usually are somewhat medieval for some reason. I think stone textures are just easy to do sometimes.
and they're easy to show off though, because you can like walk up to them and be like, I can feel.
Yeah, look at the anti-aliasing.
Like, I can see individual blades
look at
of
that ray
grass.
tracing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. I would love that. That'd be super cool. And if you could yeah, I was about to say like see it at different times, but I don't think you even need that. I just would love to see like the reconstructed Hyrule
But
Castle.
do you think Nintendo would ever say yes to that? Because then they have to kind of commit to one castle. And
well, I
when
think the way it would have to go, it'd have to be like it's the castle from blah blah
right,
blah.
okay, that makes sense. Because I know,
there's always like Hyrule Castle, but not too often is it the same castle. There are a few times. Like Wind Waker, the castle at the bottom of Wind Waker is technically the Ocarina Castle.
okay,
The little things like that that'll have like almost cameo level castles. But I think I understand that the Breath of the Wild castle, well, there's some hints that it might be the Twilight Princess castle because there's geography that's exactly the same.
Okay.
But I don't want to get into all that
that's
right
a
now.
whole nother thing.
Yeah, but I do think, it might have to be like the castle from blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
Like Disney ran into that with their, I mean, we're doing a lot of theme park talk, but their Galaxy's Edge exists in the Star Wars timeline, and it technically exists after Episode 7 and before Episode 8. So all the character experiences and stuff that happen, that's like where you are. If you go to Galaxy's Edge, that's where the timeline is. And what's been difficult for them is like as The Mandalorian became so popular, they wanted to start putting Baby Yoda into the theme park, and it's a conflict of interest because it's happening in a completely decades different.
Yeah.
And so some might argue that by making it so specific, they've kind of It's highly.
well, you've pinpointed
it's
it, like-
highly themed now.
Yeah.
You are literally living in that
So
moment
it's-
of time.
okay.
It's
Well,
between 7 and 8.
I have tons of questions, but
But
we'll-
like as a
that's-
Zelda castle, like would it? I think it's okay. It's just like it's that castle from that. I don't know. I
or
don't think
depending,
Nintendo
you can
would
just
freak out.
choose which castle you want. Be like,
Just model them all.
yeah, model them all. Come on, we're adults here.
Now that'd be fun to see. That'd be kind of fun to see. Ocarina Castle. I mean, there's like no geography of that Ocarina Castle. If you think about it, the only time you even see into the castle, is that one cutscene where Zelda's like, "Look, there's the scary man."
There's the bad guy.
Yeah, and
you
he's just in a
peer
hallway.
over- Yeah.
And you technically see inside the castle when you go in there at the end of the game and Ganon's taken over, but it's so much not a castle at that
Yeah,
point.
it's
really
ruins.
just like 6 rooms and very much just a
Yeah.
video game level.
Well, I mean, you don't really go into too much stuff. Like,
Well, I
you can't
guess
go
you're-
into like Lord Jabu Jabu's belly as a VR incident. Like, I don't necessarily want that
You
to
don't
be
want all that goopiness?
Yeah,
Let's
just
make
like,
it photorealistic.
Man, I feel like
Get me outta here.
Look at that slime. That's some good slime right there.
Even the Nintendo 3DS remake got a little slimier
Yeah.
than this Nintendo 64 one. And so like when you walk through the different like vessels and when the doors now they're a little goopier and they kind of go,
it's like
and you're kind of like, ooh, this is
I
on
remember
the edge.
in that game he opened up his mouth. I was like, "Can we just stop here? Like, I just want to be a child. This is a little beyond my age range. There are adults who can go in there. Like, I just don't feel like this is my job right now."
You as Link in
Yeah,
the game,
he's just like, no,
walking around his
I
intestines.
want to go play a Game Boy,
my
not
gosh.
enter the fish. Okay, do you got another one?
I don't know if I have any more. I do. I have a banger. I would love to do a Zelda off-grid living experience, like a designed, like a 2-week designed Eventide Island simulation. Eventide Island is the island in Breath of the Wild where you go and you lose all your stuff.
Yeah.
Survival kind of experience. I think that'd be tons of fun.
Okay, so so you sign up
So
for this.
it would be low key camping, not like it's not a Tough Mudder, it's none of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's there are like levels, degrees of like survival camping that you can go do. You can go do deep survival for a week where you go out there with nothing or maybe just a lighter and you build your shelter and all that stuff in the real world, in real life. Like these things are real.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And some people just do it on their own, you
Yeah.
know, or maybe with a group of people. But like maybe one that was slightly Zelda themed where, I mean, at the end of the day, you're still using real world physics. Fire's going to burn stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But
So like
some analogy to like play. I just want to be on Eventide Island in real life, I think is really the answer
I mean, that'd
here.
be kind of interesting. You would like maybe sleep in a treehouse, like
I
kind
guess
of
you'd
like
have to figure it out.
like a little bit of a glamping where it's like, yeah, there's Wi-Fi because we're not really
well, I mean, I guess if you're in like one of Link's houses, one of those tree houses, but if
the
it's
karaoke.
if they're trying to find, so like there's a lot of people out there that have taken the Zelda recipes, the Breath of the Wild recipes, and created real life analogs for them,
I
right?
mean, you'd have to feed them, so that could be like the mess hall.
Well,
like-
what I'm saying is maybe there's a way that you could take. The thing that's fun about Breath of the Wild is that everything is systemic, and so you can kind of build a logic off that. And maybe there's a real world analogy or analog for that.
so like archery training or something like that.
No, I'm
or-
not. I think you've still got it way too classed up. This is like,
Well, I mean,
you're in blue shorts on an island.
10-year-olds are going to sign up for this.
No,
you can't really,
this is-
you can't
no,
really give like
this is
a
for
lighter to a
40-year-old
10-year-old. Be like,
this is for
listen, little
40-year-old
Billy.
men.
This is
what this is
the
for.
40-year-old men Zelda experience. Okay,
Yeah, off-grid living.
yeah.
You know,
You're
like
paying somebody to take all of the things you love about life away from you.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, honestly, I don't even know if you have to have. I don't even know if you have to pay for this. This could just be like a fun adventure.
I mean, you can just walk out to the woods at any time, David. Like, let's be completely fair. That's completely plausible.
right now.
Oh my god.
Okay, maybe I table that one. But anyway,
Okay, that's
all I got.
that's a good one. I have a couple more. How we doing on time?
I think we're okay. What do you got?
Okay, so my last couple are a little sillier. One is and this isn't silly. There are so many amazing characters, and cosplay is such a rich, amazing, vibrant life in the Zelda community that I think they should come up with their own makeup line.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Here's for the Zoras.
Here's for the Zoras. Here's the,
sure, sure.
So I like have a Halloween makeup and like Halloween style. And I know part of the cosplay is like people love making things themselves.
Yeah.
But for some of like the larger things, like if I could get a full head to toe Goron costume,
You do it.
because
Because you're a human who likes it, but you don't have the cosplay skills.
Yeah, I
in
don't
you,
have that.
Dan McCoy.
And then like, or I could try and hire somebody to do it, and then it's just buku bucks, and you never really
Right.
know what you're getting. But like a Nintendo license foam Goron head,
Yeah.
that I could just walk around all day long and freak my dog out would just be kind of one of my favorite things in the world.
Yeah, no hate there.
And then with the Gerudo, like they're so lavish. That, and then the fairies and all that other stuff. I think they have and even just the prosthetic ears that they
Sure.
could sell, just so that way you could be Zelda, or you could be like just things to help out, that kind of stuff.
Boy. Yeah, sure. I think it's great.
Yeah. So I got that.
I was trying to think how they would do Navi or something, like it was a little wire, but anyway.
Oh, just like a little like spring thing, you
Yeah.
know, like fish. Hopefully, thin as
She just
fishing.
bounces around.
Yeah.
And every time there's a little electronic trigger and she goes,
Hey, listen. Or just put a random trigger, because
Yeah,
it's
just happens.
random and it should annoy you as much as possible, just like she did. I also have Zelda workout tapes.
What?
I didn't really flesh this one out, but I think it's there.
I love it.
This
is weird.
Maybe we can tag up with your like living on the grid. So it's like you're working out with things that Zelda would run into. So it's like logs, and you're just like
I've made a Zelda themed workout playlist.
Okay.
That I use when I go biking and sometimes when I'm doing other workouts. And I actually published it on our website. It's in the fun stuff tab, but it's kind of like clubby Zelda stuff that's really high intensity.
Sure.
But even a Zelda workout thing where it's just skinned as Zelda,
Yeah.
but it's normal workout stuff, I'm still fine with that.
But
even.
what if the main thing it really focuses on the yells that you're doing? Like on a bigger thing. It's like, remember, breathe out through your screams. Inhale through your nose. Breathe out through your screams. So
And like the calm down is like when he just agrees. He's like,
or like, if you heard too much, like ooh, we went too far. And then I just wrote this one, a Zelda-based dating app.
oh my gosh. You mean like a simulation dating game, video game?
No, I think like Tinder only for Zelda fans.
So
Like-
I've never said this in public, but when I was before meeting Gingsy, I think using Bumble for a bit, or maybe it was something else that started with an H, but it allowed you to put a little more information out there.
Sure.
When I was really young, you play around with Tinder a little bit, and it's just pictures, and then Bumble did a thing where you could put a little bit in there, but I think like there was one where the female has to approve the request or something. I don't remember the name of it, but I actually really liked that one because it got a lot of the noise out of the way, filtered a lot of noise out.
Yeah.
Anyways, the one I did had 3 questions. And you could put 3 questions in to try to stimulate conversation or something. And okay, one of them was just to kind of like as a little litmus test. One of mine was simply Wind Waker or Twilight Princess.
Okay.
And that's all it said. And that was like, so if you got a message from someone saying like, oh, totally Wind Waker, totally Twin, just the fact that they were like connecting that it was Zelda, I was kind of like, okay, this person's interesting already.
A, that wasn't a turn off. That, B, they had an opinion, and C, that they wanted to.
It was fun.
Let's see what we could do with this opinion. Yeah, I think it's great.
Full disclosure, Gingsy, we did meet through this app.
Okay.
And, it was 2 years ago or whatever it was. And she never commented about that question. Now I get full support from Gingsy here with Zelda Podcast,
Yeah.
and she loves playing other video games. She hasn't really dove into Zelda yet, though. She played the heck out of Rogue Heroes. She put like 40 hours into Rogue Heroes.
Oh, it was fun.
I don't know, 3-4 months after we had been seriously together, I kind of asked her about it. It's like I think we were joking about our profiles or
Sure.
something.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah. And then that second one question about Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, she was like, and she goes, yeah, I didn't really get that one.
The other 2 were enough that she just like, moving on.
Yeah, it was fine. I was like, wow, I'm really glad maybe that wasn't the best test because
Okay.
I obviously met a really special person. But in other times it was fun. So I don't know. It's Zelda dating app. How else does it work?
Oh,
Is
well-
it just literally trying to match people based on the Zeldas they like, or what is it?
Sure. Yeah. I think and it's such a huge fan base, and there's so many people in there that like, I don't know. And Zelda's not my number one, but if I was on the market and I was just looking through, because there's so many different dating apps now, right?
I think so. I don't. It's been a few years for me now. I have no idea
assume
anymore.
there are. But if I was trying to find one and I was scrolling through, and I've mentioned this before a few times, Ghostbusters is my heart.
Mm-hmm.
Heart. For everyone who listens and loves Zelda, I'm a Ghostbuster kid.
I keep trying to talk Dan into making a Ghostbusters podcast. So if you guys want to hear it, let's harass him until it happens. No, that's a little toxic. Let's not harass him.
Yeah, well, I'm not
Let's
on social
encourage
media,
him
so it's going
to
be
speak about Ghostbusters as a new podcast.
Absolutely. But like, if I was scrolling through and I saw Ghostbusters dating app, you bet your butt I would be signed up.
Perhaps it's like a little bit
Because-
of light trivia to see.
Yeah,
if the other
just be like, hey, maybe the one thing I feel very passionate and can talk about,
Mm-hmm.
and if I can find a female who that's something that she saw and she was like, oh my God, a Ghostbusters dating app? What is this about?
What is it called? Is it called Ghost Host? Is it called We Got One?
Or no, maybe not called that, but whenever you get a match,
Yeah.
it's Janine, you got one.
That's it.
That's it. Okay. And then you could do, my question would be Extreme Ghostbusters or Real Ghostbusters?
Oh,
That's the cartoons.
Mm-hmm, indeed.
Or Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters, if you really want to add that one in.
That was all of it. Okay, so what's the Zelda version? Is this your last thing on the list?
Yeah, this is my last
right.
one that I got. So the Zelda version would be just be
Is it like the thing where you take the quiz, you answer the 40 questions, and it kind of decides you're a Zora?
No. I don't necessarily want there to be a quiz or maybe I'm limiting this because I don't know how they really work. But like, I would just want to sign up and then see who else has signed up and then view their profiles.
Oh, so it is just its own filter. The app is its own filter.
Yeah,
almost.
you
It's
know,
like
'cause-
that app that there's like, I think there's one out there for like celebrities.
Yeah.
So they can just kind of make sure they're only dating celebrities or some weird thing like that.
And maybe you have to like fill out, like you have to take a certain quiz just to get on it because they don't want anyone just filling stuff out. I don't know. I don't make apps.
one's a stretch.
I don't know how this would work. I kind of put this one as a joke one, and now we're really trying to flesh it out.
No, let's dig in. I think we got to double
Okay.
down.
Then let's do it. So then you
No,
would.
I'm very much joking.
No. We're too far in this now, David. So
Well, okay. Well, what are
you,
some
you
of the?
take a quiz and then
You obviously collect hearts. Like the matches, the gauge for matching is how many hearts.
so then it can like you're clearly a Zora or you're clearly a Goron. And we think so it'll kind of put you in a who you are depending on what the questions
Personality style or
personality stamp personality and then it'll try and match you with other Gorons or if maybe you say like
That's
hey
racist.
this is a fictional app that I have known nothing about. And I said it matches you with people who answered like
No,
other
no, I know,
Okay,
I know,
anyways, but like I don't know. That's me making it up as I
right.
go along.
That's a fun one.
Okay.
Ridiculous.
You know what? Tomorrow morning you're gonna watch CNN. It's be like dating app takes the world by storm. Zelda. Who knew? Question mark.
No, I think the water slides are what's going to take here.
The water slides were pretty good. Or again, the Civil War style documentary that tells the history of Hyrule, narrated by.
I enjoy what you brought to the table here, Dan. I
I'm
think
pretty proud
are
of
some
these.
fun ideas.
I was really happy when we started talking about this one.
Oh my.
This one came out pretty quickly.
All right, cool. Well, if anybody else has any ideas on ways they would love to, little pie, blue sky ideas on other ways to experience the Zelda IP through other mediums, we'd love to hear it.
There's like Zelda cookbooks. There's all this other
Yeah.
stuff. We try to get things
Yeah,
that like
some of my stuff went a little large, like full theme parks. But there's a lot of different ways to experience it, and maybe it's not even
maybe a video game or something.
Wait, maybe there's like a video game where you play as Link.
As Link, yeah.
I think we're onto something there.
Maybe, or you just play as the sword, and the entire time you just are thrown about.
What?
I don't know. It's
Dan?
late. It's late. The dating app has got me all kind of mixed up.
All right, let's wrap this up. Thank you so much for being here once again, Dan.
Not a problem.
If people have any thoughts on the ways they'd like to experience Zelda IP, you can tweet us at Another Zelda Pod. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and I don't know, other things just by searching Another Zelda Podcast. You can go to our website, anotherzeldapodcast.com, where you can find links to all of our show notes and our episodes and our blogs and our well, I think we're done with that. We just did a like a raffle giveaway. I think we're done with that now, but we'll
neat.
probably do more.
Yeah.
And there's all of that. Dan, people can find you nowhere. That's perfectly fine, except here on Another Zelda Podcast.
Yeah. Like I said before, if you guys would like to find me anywhere, please just tune in. I have previous episodes.
If you need to say something to Dan, find me at Raptor Paint on Instagram and Twitter, and I'll be sure to relay the message.
Love it.
All right, Dan. Hey, I'll see you later. This was a ton of fun. Okay, bye.
Okay, bye.
We have never nailed that one yet.
No.
We'll get there someday.